Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, where some of you are. It's great to have everyone on today's webinar. We're excited to have you, so thanks for joining. Really excited to talk about simplifying business license and tax for your community here. What I will do is just give some quick intros for the folks on the line here. So I'm Brian Tamash. I'm a senior account executive over here at GovOS. And then I also have on the line here Matt Eckstein, who is one of our solutions consultant. He's going to be going through the product demonstration as we go through. And then also Austin Logie is here. He's going to be answering your questions on the Q&A as we go through here. So just a little bit of a housekeeping, if you have any questions, whether it's about the presentation over here, or if it's about, I know some folks on the line are clients as well. If you have questions about, the product and you want us to reach out and, connect with you about any challenges or questions you have about things, please feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A as well, and we'll make sure we get those answered as well. One last bit of housekeeping, stay on the line here. Towards the end, we are going to put up a couple of questions, and one of them will be asking if you want us to reach out with the Uber Eats gift card. So make sure to stick around until the end so we can gather your information for that. So without further ado, I think we'll jump right into the presentation here. So I'll start by just giving a quick little bit of introduction on who GovOS is at a high level. And then what we're going to do is hand it over to Matt and let him go through the presentation and show you some software and let everyone sort of see what the software can do at a high level here today. So GovOS, we are a company that works with state and local governments, helping them drive efficiencies and transform digital experiences across these three stakeholder groups that you see on the screen here. So we have you folks on the agency, trying to make things easier for you all to free you up to spend time on more valuable activities. But we also want to make things easier for our businesses. We hear a lot about customer service when we talk to folks and how they deal with businesses and constituents as well. And so we want to be helping you do is create that better customer experience that, again, leads to efficiencies for all of us as we go through this process here. What makes our tax and licensing solution unique are these kind of three pillars here. So the first is the security piece. We do have the highest security standards in the industry. We're the only licensing and tax solution that's SOC 2 compliant. We were specifically purpose-built for tax and licensing professionals. Our Chief Strategy Officer, Erin Neer, who helped us build this product out here, was a Chief Finance Officer at a local agency, and she said, "Hey, there's got to be a better way to do this." And built this product. She's still with us as our Chief Strategy Officer now here as well. The last piece is the support side. I mentioned those three pillars. We want to think about those three stakeholder groups. We want to think about support for all of that. So support for you as the agency, support for your businesses, and also even support for your constituents as well. So that is something that we really pride ourselves in, and that tends to set us apart in the industry here. Now, we're going to talk today about business licensing and tax. That's going to be our big focus. But as we take a step back, that is just a piece of what we do here at GovOS. So we have a true cloud platform here that's really designed to help folks across all the areas from licensing and registration to tax and compliance and public records. And like I said, today we're just going to focus on the business licensing and tax piece, but just wanted to share this in case folks have any other, challenges that you're facing across any of these areas, whether it's, something like professional licensing, alcohol licensing, lodging tax, short-term rental compliance. These are all areas that we're helping thousands of communities across the country here on. Specifically, when it comes to business licensing and tax, what we've done here is really created a platform that's designed to be an all-in-one solution as you think about licensing and tax. And we've been told that is a really big differentiator for us in the space. There are a lot of agencies that have individual systems for managing different parts of this process. So what GovOS does is, we created this single system here that's designed to save time, improve enforcement, and generate more revenue. So where that starts is we create a very easy online system for both filing and payments. And that's really important, not just filing or just payments, one system where they can file and pay in one place. Big time saver for our clients and also big time saver for the staff and not having to reconcile things back and forth. That allows us to be that complete system of record for you so that you can manage all of your communications and everything from one place. In turn, that creates a simpler business owner experience, especially when they have a nice self-service portal that's easy to use and supported by GovOS as well to improve that customer service that we're looking to do. With all that in mind, if we can free up staff time, the goal is that you can use that time to focus on improved enforcement and get better data and reports for better decision making. So with that as an introduction, now we're going to talk a little bit about hopefully how we can help you all achieve some similar results here. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Matt Eckstein, who's going to walk you through the demonstration.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate that. Hello, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. And I have a couple slides. Don't like to show too many slides, but it really kind of helps create the framework for the software that we're going to take a look at today. We really like to start, right, on our solution consultant team talking a little bit about some personas, right? These are just a few of the personas that we would interact with. We have a gentleman here, Ben, the business owner, and some of the challenges that he faces today, right? Confusing process, long waits. Somebody who may be in your shoes, right? On the other end of this call, right? Amy, she's a tax or licensing or permit analyst, multiple systems, right? Putting
Hey,
in long
Matt,
hours.
real fast, just to interrupt you, we're not seeing your screen yet. There
Can
we
you
go.
see me now?
Sure can.
All right, great. Um, uh, quick kind of to bring you guys up to speed, right? These are different personas, right? We got Ben, the business owner, confusing processes, long waits, complex forms. Somebody in your shoes, right? Amy, who's a tax license permit analyst, and some of the issues that she has, right? Multiple systems, data entry. And then somebody, maybe at the top of the chain, right? A finance director, somebody like Dan here, limited insights, lost revenue, difficult decision making. So our goal, right, in the solution that Brian had presented is to make an impact on each one of these individuals, right? Ben, who's essentially, your constituent, right? And then obviously you folks who are working there internally. How do we get there, right? Let's take a look at our journey. So along the road, right, to achieve success in these different areas, we're going to show today, right, how somebody like Ben will interact with that self-service portal. We'll specifically look at how he goes ahead and applies for a license, right? And then we'll focus on how Ben would log into the portal and remit taxes and make some payments. Whenever we receive licenses or permits, there's always going to be, well, generally going to be an approval process. That could be managed by a single person or it could include multiple departments, but we'll showcase how somebody in Amy's shoes will be able to quickly access those approvals in the system and work through them to make sure that they are accurate and complete. Once we take a look at that, we'll take a tour around the administration portion of the system and look and see how Amy can track and collect tax revenue, and also manage account information and transactions as needed. We'll close today in our demonstration with somebody like Dan, right? And we'll take a look at a couple different reports in the system to really help Dan, monitor and craft some strategy there locally. So before we jump in the software, I'm gonna actually ask our superstar who's in the background. Her name's Marcy. She is going to pop up a poll question about business licensing pain points. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and just read this, and then I'll let you guys work through the answers here. But which of the following pain points do you encounter with your current business licensing and tax processes? Please go ahead and check all that apply. It is a multiple choice. Just give us your best feedback. Generally, some of the larger topics that we hear about is, right, those manual or in-person processes, inaccurate or outdated data, right? And, challenges collecting accurate interest and penalties on tax is also something that we generally see a back and forth, right, between Ben, the business owner, and Amy, right, the tax or permit analyst throughout that process. All right, so let's jump into some software. What we're going to do is we're going to start with pulling up the business owner experience, right? So this is where Ben is going to log in and complete his license. So one thing, I always like to take a step back and look at the user interface, okay? In this case, I've already gone ahead and logged in utilizing some email verification. I didn't think it was appropriate to include that step because in this day and age, right, we've all have an Amazon account or we go online and set up an account under Nike to buy some shoes. And that's the same type of modernization of software that we're trying to bring to local government. So once we do some email verification, Ben will be logged into his online portal. Now, Ben is a business owner. He actually has two businesses for which he owns, and he'll have access to look at both of those businesses in one screen. That's going to be listed under this account management section in the lower right-hand portion. So we do have Mr. E's Wholesale Roasters. And then we also have a mystery coffee shop. So both of those businesses are owned by this business owner, and they'll be able to manage all of their business licensing and tax remittance all through this single portal. They don't have to have a separate login for each one of these different business accounts. As a partner with GovOS, you'll be able to customize a notification center. You'll be able to include information about the purpose of this site and any links to FAQs that you might like to include for your business owners. Most importantly is we focus on what we call task-driven workflow within the system. So during onboarding, right, we're going to create a set list of tasks for somebody like Ben, the business owner, to complete as part of that process. And once we get those accounts linked here, we'll then have some tasks that are easily available for Ben to see through his task dashboard on the left-hand side. Now let's carve this out into two sections, right? We have the Mr. E's Wholesale Roasters, and then we also have the Mystery Coffee Shop. So underneath each one of these sections is the tasks that are either need to be completed by Ben or are outstanding. Let's walk through a quick business license application that I've queued up for our demonstration for the Mystery Coffee Shop. In this scenario, Ben, the business owner, right, he has already kicked off his business for Mr. E's Wholesale Roasters, where he is roasting, coffee and distributing that out to all the coffee shops. But now he's decided that he's going to open up his own coffee shop. So in this case, there is a renewal that's queued up for his Mr. E's Wholesale Roasters business, but he does need to fill out his initial application for the Mystery Coffee Shop. So again, task-driven workflow, what's that look like? Well, in the system, we have different tasks. I'll explain to them as we go through this process, but you're going to have an info message that you're going to be able to present here on the screen, okay? This information in here is going to include possibly what the requirements are for, today for them to register and get that license process kicked off, but it could also include links to other outside sites, or links to other information can also be included in here. My main theme that I like to talk about info message is this is designed by you and configured and created by us for you during your onboarding process. So we'll take all of your inputs on what this page should state, and we'll include that in the configuration. Once we submit past this particular task, we'll be taken to an online form. Right. And the story behind the online form is, again, digitizing, right, those PDF forms or those in-person transactions that we have with folks that are coming in and providing you that information on paper, and then you're having to enter that into another separate system. So in this case, we are asking the business owners to go ahead and provide the detail for their application, and all of this is going to be available for you to review in their account detail within the system. These forms are configurable. They will include text boxes and drop-down menus and radio button lists and formatting masks on different fields. You can set required fields and optional fields for them to enter as part of this process. We even have the ability to configure specific fees based on selections that can be provided on this form. All that information will be collected here, and they'll be able to go ahead and authorize this form and date it down here towards the bottom. So we'll go ahead and sign this form. and put in today's date, and we'll submit through this process. Next task type we're going to talk about today is going to be a document upload. What we know and what we've learned is that each process is going to include some type of document upload. That could be a couple different documents. It could be a site plan. It could be a proof of ownership. It could be an inspection. It could be a copy of a state license document or a county license document that they need as a prerequisite to get that local license. So in this case, we allow the ability for us to configure and customize helper text on this screen, and can even provide links to example documents just to help bend the business owner as they go through that process. Let's go ahead and upload a file here. I have a couple queued up. We'll attach that file and we'll submit and complete this task. This is just another example of a additional document upload that would need to be provided as part of this process. Know that this process, right, is again designed and then configured by us for you. So any of these tasks that you need to include along the process will be set up and ready for your business owners to complete. Another feature, right, of this is that we're also controlling how they are going through the process of completing those steps. And we'll want to make sure that that application is fully completed before it gets to the persona of Amy for review and approval in the administration portion of the system. Let's go ahead and get this proof of ownership updated, and we'll submit and move on to the next screen. Fee collection and calculation will be provided for you here. This shows you our ability to include some math formulas on screen. So potentially it could be a flat fee, which is great, right? Hey, it's $25 for a business license. That'll pop up on screen here and they can move into the shopping cart and pay that. But in this case, it's possible that your business license fees involve a little bit more calculation, right? Could be on gross receipts. It could be on a specific type of business. We can go ahead and include a number of employees, and that would automatically calculate a license fee that's needs to be submitted today. Let's go ahead and submit that. And from there, as you can see, we're taken to a shopping cart. So not to use my online Nike shoes analogy, but that's what we're trying to do, is bring these services to local government where I'm taken to a shopping cart. I need to pay $150, and then I can go ahead and make that payment here online. Now, payment can be easy and simple. We have GovOS Pay, which is a great option for you that automatically reconciles with the software. So easy kind of reconciliation of transactions that are coming in and then transactions that are going out to your financial system. And that can be done through a simple credit card payment information that can be included here. For our demonstration purposes today, I'll push this through with an ACH credit. That is an option that you'll have the ability to place on a business, because we know the Walmarts, right, and the McDonald's out there are sometimes paying a large sum of tax, and they want to avoid any credit card processing fees. So you would have the ability to set those as like an ACH, and at that point you'd be able to collect their payment that they have paid online, but then receive those funds through a wire transfer later. All right, let's pay that. Also, in this case, right, Ben's going to be receiving notifications, right? He's going to receive on-screen confirmation that these payments have come in through the system, okay? He's getting email notifications. He's getting on-screen messages. And this is essentially kind of that transaction was completed. And at this point, Ben has completed that business license application process. And the final step in the process, as you'll notice here, is it's pending approval. So let's take, I do want to check back into our PowerPoint slides, right? And we're looking at our journey. And what we specifically looked at now is trying to streamline, Ben, the business owner's process in applying for that license. So in this case, we went through the process for Ben to get online and complete those task-driven workflows so that he can get his license up and queued and ready to go. The next thing let's look at is how we weave tax into this, right? Because many municipalities have, written in their local ordinance or regulation or bylaw the fact that tax needs to be collected. Okay, that percentage of tax could be on gross receipts, which is what we're going to look at today in a sales tax form. So let's go back to the software and take a look. So what happens is once we get a business that's set up and we have a cadence for how they're supposed to remit taxes, this is configurable. It can be done on a monthly, a quarterly, an annual basis. Those tax forms are going to be listed as tasks for Ben to complete for each one of his businesses. In this case, you can see for Mr. E's Wholesale Roasters, there is a July sales tax form that does need to be completed. And then we also need to submit some June and July sales tax information for the coffee shop. Let's take a look at that. Know that when it's time for Ben to remit his taxes, you folks are no longer going to have to reach out to Ben, right? Provide him with a paper copy and say, hey, Ben, here's your tax form. You'll need to go ahead and complete this and send it back through mail to us so that we can enter it into the system and calculate any penalties and interest. That's all going to be done online here using our tax forms that will include calculations, not just for the tax percentage, but also any penalties and interest that have incurred. Now, I purposely made this tax form late so we can see some of those calculations happen here on screen. And this is just one variation of our tax form. These tax forms, as I mentioned, are configurable. So you get to choose what rows are on these tax forms, what the language is. All of that is done through inputs from you, and then obviously best practices from our GovOS team. Okay, so during this period, I have collected $25,000 in gross receipts. And as soon as I enter in that value, you'll see that the total tax due, right, is automatically calculated towards the bottom. With that, as I mentioned, I purposely made it late because we hear a major pain point for, local government is the fact that if we don't provide a mechanism to calculate late fees and penalties and interest, that's something that there's some back and forth, right? Oh, I have this much gross receipts. How much tax and penalties and interest do I owe? At this point, there's no question, right? The penalty and interest would automatically calculate, and those folks can pay that here directly online. Let's go ahead and sign this, title it, and submit that. And again, similar process, right? We're trying to streamline this process for all business owners. This tax amount is going to drop into that shopping cart, and they'll be able to go ahead and execute that online payment for that process. Again, I'll just submit this through an ACH credit for today. We'll pay that now. This on-screen confirmation message shows a little bit of our software's flexibility to link transaction information, right, to your different general ledger codes that you might have that you're trying to reconcile from our system. We'll look at this in a little bit more detail as we explore Amy's persona, but this does show the amount of money that Ben's paying and what areas it's getting allocated to, right? So we do have some sales tax, $865, right? And then any tax penalty is included with the $86.50. And then the interest is $17.30. So what we'll look at later in the process is how we'll be able to reconcile each one of these transaction types. We call them SKUs in the system for easy reconciliation to your general ledger. All right, let's pop back over to the Business Center. Once we've completed that tax form, it's now been submitted into the system for Amy to go ahead and review and track. But also know for Ben, the business owner, for any of the businesses that he's currently the owner of, Ben will have the ability to come down to an activity feed and look at any transaction activity or even informational activity that he has completed since the beginning of his time here within this Business Center portal. Your transaction activity is going to present fees, right, and tax forms that have been completed. The informational activity would allow Ben to engage with those task-driven workflow steps that he had completed during his initial application process or renewal application process. I'll show you what this looks like. So if Ben, the business owner, wanted to look back and see his Mr. East Wholesale Roasters tax form that he completed for last month, he can quickly pop in here, view that tax form, see the amount of gross and sales service that he had entered in. And also Ben might be interested to look at any trade-ins that he had, right? Or return goods. So all that information will be available for him to look at and see what he reported to the municipality here. All right, let's pop back to the business center. And to confirm kind of the step that we went through here. All right, let's visit our journey slide. So what we really wanted to focus on is how Ben can log into the portal and remit taxes. Our goal there, right, is to make it easy for Ben to submit and remit his taxes and gross receipts, and also have no question about what the calculation is going to be for the tax owed and any penalties and interests. This will also help you folks as well, right? You didn't have to manually enter any of that tax information. You didn't have to reach out to Ben and tell him, hey, Ben, you owe $86.50 and $17.50 for late fees and penalties and interest. It's automatically calculated, and Ben had completed and submitted that fee online. Moving on. Once Ben finishes his application, it'll now be available for Amy to review and approve Ben's business. So let's pump back into our software. And at this point, we are going to navigate away from what I would consider the public-facing business center. And we're going to put on our tax or permit analyst or licensing analyst hat. We're going to step into Amy's shoes. Now, you folks, as a partner with GovOS, will have access to a tab that's listed up here in the upper right-hand portion. And that's going to be the admin tab, so the administration section. So let's go ahead and click on that. Remember, the persona that we are engaged with is the staff, right? This is the city staff, the town staff, the county staff. You'll have access to this area where Ben, the business owner, would not have that tab available for him to select on. I really like to focus on the user interface, the user experience, just to kind of let you know what the lay of the land is here. You will have a navigation menu on the left-hand side that will allow you to access several different modules. Your build would be different possibly than your neighbors, right? Or state to state, county to county. This navigation panel will have different components. We're going to touch on a couple today. And if this really excites you and you're interested about that, definitely reach out to us after this lunch and learn. And we'd love to do a deeper dive on what some of these other modules do for you. Approvals. We're focusing on approvals right now. Approvals is going to carry its own kind of module and section here on your navigation menu. Okay. What do we all say? Green for go. Okay. So currently there's 82 approvals that Amy needs to work through in the system. Okay. Yes, this is my demonstration site, and I don't approve everything always, right? But I'm trying to build out good content here. So, look what we got right up on top here, the mystery coffee shop. So this is going to be available for Amy to come in and approve. Search functionality will be available for you. You can search within specific field names like account name or business name or account number. However, in my experience, search works really great across the board, across the database. You could be very selective on which field parameter you'd like to search within. But if you know the business name or that account number, all you need to do is just type it up here in the search area, and it will quickly bring that business up to the forefront. To open up a approval, let's go ahead and click on this record here, and that will open up a details page where we can review and approve the application for the mystery coffee shop. Now, what we're going to focus on here is these workflow tasks. I mentioned to you how these processes, okay, and I don't just want to talk about business licensing here, right? Because as Brian had mentioned, this is a licensing focused software solution. So not just business licenses, but if you're thinking, oh, I'd really like to incorporate that for a short-term rental license or an alcohol license or a tobacco license that I have difficulty managing, all of those different license types can be configured into the system, and each one of those can have their own pillar, right, or silo of workflow tasks. The tasks that we set up for this business license are down here, right? Um, you all saw me engage in that info message, that business license information, okay? The requirements for today, the requirements for the future, right? The actual application. Would you like to view that? You can quickly click into that view. You folks know I didn't enter all that information. I did sign and date it down here towards the bottom. But if you want to look at their application, you don't have to pull up a piece of paper, right, next to or a PDF from what they handed to you or they mailed you and possibly enter this into another system that you're possibly tracking your licenses or tax. It's all contained in one system through some of those self-service tools. You might need to look at and review any of those documents that they provided, right? So that site plan, hey, we need to take a look at that. You can view that task, open up that PDF directly from the application and review that site plan and confirm if it's accurate and true to what you're looking to collect as part of that process. The last step there is obviously the fee collection. That's green for go. That's been collected so far. And the final step in this process is the approval of the business license. Now, approval is configurable, okay? Love this word configurable, meaning that it's not a stretch for GovOS to provide an approval process that meets your requirements today. Approval can be handled by one single person. Approval can be routed to different folks using this approval status. Each one of these folks would receive their own queue of approvals. And in this case, like Grant, Chris, or Dan, or Patricia can actually query, right, those approvals that they need to engage in and get their attention to that particular business profile. These tiles that you see here are configurable. In this case, this has been a pre-set up approval that does include some review from community development, from the finance department, and an administrator. So in order for Ben, the business owner's business for Mystery Coffee Shop to get its final approval in the upper right-hand portion, these do need to be completed by each one of those department heads or department responsible party. There is some security that could be provided around each one of these groups, because let's be honest, if Dan, the finance director, doesn't want anybody from the community development department to approve his piece, Dan could basically have, hey, no one else can hammer down on this button but me. And that can be included in the software. Let's go ahead and approve a couple of these pieces. Once we approve each one of those separate components, final approval is now going to be available for us to automatically trigger notifications out to Ben, the business owner, congratulating him on his successful application process and providing him information on what to do next. This button right here, again, notification goes out, Ben, the business owner, and we'll bring Ben, the business owner, back into the online portal where he can print his business license and remit any taxes that he'll need to provide from that point forward. Let's check in with Ben, the business owner. I'm going to put on my Ben, the business owner hat, and we'll jump out here. So that was the Mystery Coffee Shop. So when Ben receives that email notification, he can pop into his business profile. You'll see all the profile information that he'll have access to here. His business license is currently active. It'll carry an expiration date that meets your requirement. What I mean by that is if your business license expire 1 calendar year from the date it was issued, we can accommodate that. If all of your business license expire on July 1st of every year, we can accommodate that. If all your business license expire on December 31st and renewals go out January 1, we can accommodate that. This document is going to be accessible through the system. This business license would be configured, right, to your particular file format. This just shows our example file, but we would take your template, we would build that into the system and allow that business license to be printed by the business owner through the portal as long as it isn't expired. What I mean by as long as it isn't expired is up until this expiration date, this document can be printed. After that, there'll be a new license that listed down here as a renewal. Pop back over to the business center. And again, let's check on our journey. What we just showed was Amy's ability to review and approve Ben's business. Okay. Ben's business came in, it was listed in a queue. Amy was able to select that business and review his content and submit that application for approval. So now that businesses are submitting, right, their licenses, Amy does have the ability to utilize the GovOS system of record to review these accounts and track different revenues. So let's take a look at a day in the life, potentially, for Amy in GovOS. So putting on my Amy persona hat. And let's jump in again to our business center, and we're going to look at this navigation menu on the left-hand side. What we'll see over here towards the right when we log in is that administrative dashboard. Amy's going to be able to have a high-level snapshot of collections that have been completed this month, what's pending totals, previous year variances, and also a nice graph and chart that you can look at as monthly totals year over year. Tracking delinquency is simple and easy using our delinquency tracking here. Generally, delinquency is going to be separated in a couple different areas, and those are going to be listed in these filters up here towards the top. You could put in specific task due dates for your open tasks or your open task forms. So generally, a delinquent could be, Ben, the business owner, has not completed his task for renewal process. Ben, the business owner, has not completed his tax form that's been sitting out there under his profile for several months. Ben, the business owner, has not paid, right, his balance that's pending. Okay. And you can search by dates. Or Ben, the business owner, doesn't have an active license. Okay. He's expired and he's no longer active. So he'll show up as a delinquent account. On top of that, right, when we're collecting demographic and geographic information on these businesses, you can actually show filters, right, based on field collection. For example, if you're looking to target delinquency in a specific business area or under a specific business type, whether that be a city or a state business type, these fields are custom fields and they are configurable. So you can actually provide your own field types and your own drop-down menus for us to be able to slice and dice that data for you for better and accurate reporting. Let's take a look at accounts, right? Because these are your business profiles, okay? Many times we talk with folks that are recording these potentially on a spreadsheet, right? And on that spreadsheet, right, each row that you have on that sheet is going to be a business profile. Well, this is taking that business profile information and including it in a system of record that allows you to track and report that information all in one software solution. So let's take a look at Mr. E's Wholesale Roasters up here towards the top. The user interface, I always take a step back here. As you folks know by now, you'll have tabs of information that's across the top of a business profile. Each one of these tabs will provide you unique insight into different components of that business. The details page is going to give you basic overview of the business. You'll have that business name. You'll see who the owner is. You'll have a configurable status that allows you to track various statuses. If there's parcel information included with that, any balances or completed assessments that they have, license types that they currently have engaged with, any tax IDs, emergency contact information. All of that information will be available for you to review directly on the business account profile. These are the custom fields, okay? When you're looking at this and you're thinking, well, they don't have my field in there. And that's fine, because what we'll do during onboarding is we are going to take a look at your requirements, include your custom fields in here, and then include your categories or your drop-down list values that should be included in those areas. which is going to provide effective reporting that we'll take a look at here in a little bit. Couple other tabs of interest, right, is you'll be able to see and access who the users are that are associated with that business, okay? So in this case, this is the owner of the property, okay? You may see multiple folks in there, right? So it's possible that, Ben, the business owner, has another person that's associated with that as their accountant, who's also included on that profile. And you can have different roles for each one of those individuals. In this case, the owner would have, master access and master approval access. And because in this case, the owner of the business would have hired, Nick, right? The accountant. Maybe Nick's not doing a very good job, and we want to get rid of Nick and bring somebody else into that business profile. That's something that the business owner will be able to do through the online portal, but it's also something that you'll be able to help them out if you need to. Workflows that have been completed. I always like to look at completed tasks that are in the system, right? So if Amy's wants to see a copy of the sales and use tax form that has been previously completed for Mr. E's wholesale roasters, she can view that directly from those workflow tasks. In this case, she can look and see, yeah, gross sales, 2,500. There was some deductions that Ben, the business owner, included in here. And yeah, we did collect some penalties and interest because, Mr. Ben, the business owner, while he does remit his taxes, he is always late in remitting his taxes. So you can review all of that information directly through the account profile. Transaction does provide detail of all the transactions that have been submitted by this particular business, okay? In this case, you can see how we lay out what we call those different SKUs that will match into your general ledger, such as interest, penalty, actual tax, and any license fees that are associated with that. Notifications is another area that we'll explore. Notifications are streamlined. They're sent automatically through the system as Ben, the business owner, completes a task, or Amy, the tax and licensing analyst, approves. In this case, you see that an email has gone out to the owner of this business with a license approval template. And yes, folks, we do have some date recording in here, so we know when it was sent. And also, if they do open up this email, we can, in many cases, capture open dates. Okay, that's sometimes helpful when somebody says, well, I never received an email from the system. If you look in the system at the history of the chain of custody of notifications to that business owner and you see that open date, but you can have that discussion with the business owner as far as receiving that email notification. Transactions are not only visible through each individual business profile, but you'll also have a transactions module that you'll be able to search transactions either by type or different SKUs, okay? These SKUs, you could actually dip right into your sales tax, right? Do a search on that, and it will just show all those transactions that have come in for sales tax themselves. This particular view is across all businesses, right? Not just one. We'll give you the flexibility of looking at one versus the other. Notifications is another area where we can provide you with the ability to view notifications across multiple businesses, okay? In this case, you will see some open dates over here towards the right. I wasn't fibbing you, right? When I do open up these emails, it does kick back a notification or a record into the system, providing those open dates. But you can filter and query by different businesses or different types, and you can see those emails and notifications and what went out to those business owners through the system. The last piece we'll show here as far as this notification section is also flexibility for you to have more access to the system to adjust and modify things. Okay, things meaning configuration. Okay, if you'd like to, because after you're live with the software, you may want to adjust and notify a notification template. And one of the pain points that Brian and I hear, right, when we talk with folks is that they don't have the ability to access notification templates and make quick changes to those notification templates throughout the process. They need to pick up the phone or contact an email address and say, hey, I would like this notification template changed. Our onboarding team will train you how to access these notification templates. So failure to file notice, we'll choose edit on that. And what you will see in here is there are going to be merge tags, right? That will merge in information to standardize these letter responses to your businesses. But if you'd like to update and change the content that's included within that notification template, our team will not hold you back. If that's something you don't feel comfortable doing, you better believe it that our customer support team will help you get through that process and receive that request from you and update those templates if you just don't have the time. We understand that you folks wear many hats, and you may just not have the ability to update that information, and we'll be able to help you out with that as well. All right, let's go back and visit our PowerPoint slideshow, our GovOS journey. So we talked about how Amy can track and collect different tax revenues. So managing accounts and transactions needed. We looked at the transactions. I really want to showcase our reconciliation module here, knowing that the GovOS system is going to be that powerhouse, right? Between that system of record that's going to collect your license and tax revenue, okay? But generally, you're going to want to reconcile that right to your financial system. So let's look at what that reconciliation process might look like for you. So in this case, we will engage in our reconciliation module. And from there, you'll be able to look at past reconciliations and some of the assessments and payments that are included with that. You can always create a brand new reconciliation, or we can look at a previous one. Let's create a new one. We'll call this Lunch and Learn. Once we create that Lunch and Learn, we'll save that reconciliation, and we'll scroll down here towards the bottom. And at this point, we can do a query and filter based on different like lockbox, transaction methods, and we'll show transactions that we would like to include in this batch or this reconciliation batch. Transactions will be available for us to view from here. And at this point, we can go ahead and choose and select the transactions that we'd like to include in this reconciliation. Once we do that, I am going to take a look at our general ledger tab, and this is going to show you how we include these different SKUs, which would match your general ledger code. And when we export this through our GovOS system, you'll be able to import this in a flat comma separated value file into your financial system so that you can recognize your, in this case, room tax of $2,160 and your sales tax of $346 and any license fees that are associated with that, as well as penalties and interest. Once we export this to CSV, it'll take that information into an exportable file, and we'll work with your team to make sure that file can import into your financial system. All right. The last thing that we're going to look at, lunch is almost over. We got to get back to work. So the last thing we'll look at here is how Dan can build some reports to monitor and craft some strategy. So as Brian had mentioned when he kicked us off in our presentation today, he did talk about how our chief strategy officer here at GovOS, Erin Neer, she is a delight. She was the founder of this software, and she was a finance director, so she knew a lot of the challenges that you guys are having today, and also needing the ability to have efficient reports that help you understand what's going on in the marketplace. So from a report feature, you're going to have 16 out-of-the-box reports, right, for you guys to engage and utilize as far as an ad hoc report tool that would allow you to select different parameters and different filters and generate those reports, reconciliation reports, top 10 businesses by different areas, okay, a license inventory detail, take a look at a couple of them here. Ones that I like is this business summary by area. So this one, I still have it open over here towards the right. So this will allow you to specifically focus on a transaction SKU, okay? For our presentation today, right, Dan, the director, wants to know, hey, what's revenue look like, right, over a certain period of time across my different business areas or license types for my sales tax, my interest, my penalty. Also, he's interested in room tax, and I believe there's, yeah, and sales tax over here towards the left. Now, what Dan, the director, is going to do next is he'll be able to search by a particular date range. And once we update that report, Dan, the director, is going to now be able to look at actual revenue amounts that have been collected on different business areas. Okay. Now I'm focusing on different business areas here or some type of state area, but it could also be any other custom field that we include in the system. Okay. In this case, we have this broken down by, a business type, let's say, and business area. So to craft strategy, right, you can look at how revenue has increased or decreased from the previous year. In addition to that, you'll also be able to take a look back in time in 2022, 2021, and 20, and see how that business license revenue or tax revenue is growing in those different areas or based on that different license type. This report's very revenue focused, okay? Our next report that we're going to take a look at is going to be our license inventory. And this is simply like, hey, give us a snapshot of what's going on with our current licenses. So when we open up that report, I love the field tracking here, right? You'll have different dates up here towards the top that you can filter. And then we're really going to dig deep into that system of record in the account profile, right? We have our business area. We have our business type, different license type. What's the license status? You can select each one of these account detail pieces, right? Because those have all been collected and stored during the registration process, and report. I want to see all my active licenses that are within the brothers area. Okay, we can update that report. And that will show us all those licenses. Okay, from here, we can click into these different records, take a look at that business profile, and determine if you need to take action on that particular business, or even export this and provide it to your listing to your leaders. Now, folks, we've only scratched the surface on some of the reports that are available. So again, for our lunch and learn today, we'd really like to hear from you, right? After this lunch and learn, if you'd like to do a little bit deeper dive in some of the report features that we have. All right, to close this off, we looked at our journey today, right? We want to look at the impact that that's going to have on these different personas. To take a look at that current state again, right? We talked about Ben, the business owner, and Amy and Dan, the finance director. So our goal, right, in partnering with GovOS is that the business owner, Ben's going to have guided entries, good communication, simplifying those tasks. Amy's going to have some streamlined processes, optimizing her efforts, right? And Dan, the finance director, is going to have widespread compliance, right? Complete understanding of what's going on in the marketplace. Overall value, right? Talk about personas, right? But what's this going to do for you? So we definitely hear pain point is the manual processes, right? We can automate many of those manual processes within the GovOS solution, right? Save many hours of staff time in processing, okay? Also saving time on some legacy systems, right? Many times the GovOS platform is going to replace, right, a couple different software applications that may have antiquated technology, decreasing overall costs. And then your business owners are going to be happy, right? They're going to be able to come into the portal, complete those tasks, submit those remittances online without having any issues of going back and forth between you all. So that concludes my demonstration. At this point, I want to thank everybody for your attention today. And I'm going to kick it back over to my partner in crime over there, Brian, to close this out for our lunch and learn.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, real quick before everyone jumps off, you're going to get asked two questions here before before you jump off. One is going to be about your Uber Eats gift card as a thank you for joining today and giving us your time. It was very nice talking with everyone. The other one is going to ask you, would you like a follow-up from our team to continue the conversation? Some of you folks I know are customers of ours and might want to reach out to us to get some more answers on things. Other folks who may not be customers yet but want to explore different options, like Matt mentioned, we can take a deeper dive into all these areas here. So happy to do so. Just let us know. Um, with that in mind, I just want to thank everyone for spending lunch with us today. I hope it was really helpful for everyone. And thank you to Matt and the team for walking us through the software demonstration.